Ford and BMW, I want to buy that car. I don't know how much discount I will get it. Okay, great. So thanks for having this conclave. So we had in Mumbai, like it was mentioned, then we went to Bangalore, and then I was told that we are going to Singapore also. And then we'll go to Dubai. Right? So I want this kind of partner, And then please, if you book the ticket right now for Dubai, you will get it in a cheaper cost. Rahul, you are listening, huh? You can give them discount also. Great. Okay, so topic is very confusing for me. I was doing some Google search. Yeah, ये reshuffle क्या होता है? Is it concept or is it only some English word? Okay, and then I thought, let me ask the panelist. I should not break my head. But see, what's happening in the industry? What's happening in the last 2 to 3 months? We started with COVID, and then work from home, work from office, quitting, Great Resignation, moonlighting, gig model, so much of transformation happening. And I think before reshuffle word came in the picture, ये reshuffle हो ही गया था, right? Yeah. So let me do some one more ground level check. How many are from talent acquisition? HR. So HR people not doing the talent acquisition. Because I'm told, and this is true, whatever you are in the company, whether HR, non-HR, in any organization, any capacity, you are part of the organization. First of all, you are the recruiter. Everybody is looking for a talent on their own also. And then, like every report says, people are spending more than 50 to 70% time in the hiring good talent. And this is true, right? In many companies, big company CEOs are saying. Okay, so I will keep talking, but let me go to my panelists and start with first question. Sir, Madam, thank you, Megha. Rajiv is close friend. Megha will be close friend now, very soon. And Gaurav will also. Gaurav is also very close friend. Since last 5 to 10 years, we know each other. So, ये क्या है sir reshuffle? Do you know what is reshuffle? Raise your hand. Raise your hand. Do you know what is reshuffle? So can you see? 1, 2. English का definition तो मालूम है ना reshuffle का. So yeah, so 3. So Gaurav, Rajiv, Megha, challenging task. They don't know what is reshuffle. Yeah. So it's not an opening remark, but you need to make them understand what is reshuffle and how it is directly impacting the job, impacting the industry, the ecosystem of the each and every company in this country as well. Yeah. India has a great future, no doubt. Everybody get the job. Yeah. Okay, so ladies first.
Yes, I think. Yeah, right. Like calling that out. I agree. So Ashish, I think when you talked about the statement that reshuffle is a word which was experienced first and then the name get coined, right? And came to this conference. So we all gone through that last 3 years of reshuffle and experienced it in our own way, by default, not by design, I would say. It was pandemic, yes. Everybody was forced to work from home, even if the jobs were not even designed. There were some brainstorming and push factor which came along, which really made that journey of working from home, getting that flexibility faster than we could have ever imagined, right? And then, of course, the kind of work styles. Everybody understood that, yes, life is important. It's not just work, right? And it was not a labor market anymore. It was like about getting a fulfilling career experience in the organizations you join, which means there are other factors of a person beyond those 4 walls of meeting room as well. So where the engagement really changed its terminology of well-being coming to the forefront, right? So this was a couple of reshuffling happening, and today we are talking about the stock market going haywire, like economy really needing that support from the corporates to sustain further, and how it can be done, that's another reshuffle arrangement which we need to figure out, then how we transform our corporates to look at the careers of future. So yes, this is some opening words, and of course I will throw it back to the panelists. to add on more?
I feel like a politician जिसकी कुर्सी छीन जाती है. Because if a speaker is there and you snatch the mic from him, you feel like the same thing. So I was holding the mic like this, and someone came and gave. So
it's a feeling, or you are a politician?
I don't know. So reshuffle, actually, a lot of HR fraternity doesn't like me because I'm very candid. But let's talk about it. That we all HR people in our fraternity is fond of coining up the new terms every time. Whether it is engagement of HR, the evolution of HR or anything, now we are coining up few terms like this, quitting and all this. So reshuffle is again a term but a process. So just to understand this, and I have few examples. Like one of my friend, he used to be a very good, I would say top level executive in one of those, actually CXO, but he used to like cooking. And during pandemic times, he had a lot of time obviously because we are at home and saving time on commute and everything. He discovered that I can cook a lot of more, maybe better dishes what he used to cook. Suddenly someone told him that why don't you open your restaurant? So he quit the job and opened a restaurant. So reshuffle is that during pandemic time, people started thinking what attracts me and what will make me happy actually. And some of them started doing that. It can be in terms of skills, it can be in terms of your role, it can be in terms of what you want to do in your career. So if it is within the company, it can be skill reshuffle. If it's outside the company, it can be your career reshuffle. So it can be anything. So it's a process. It is a kind of a journey which people have gone through for last 2 to 3 years. And this is called reshuffle in a very layman language. And I gave that example of my friend who just opened a restaurant.
So, if you really want to actually understand this topic, you need to give credit to the organizers for designing this panel discussion topic. Reason being, 3 quarters back, they would have named it Great Resignation.
Yeah.
Now they're smartly changing it to Great Reshuffle. And I didn't mean to actually kind of pinpoint anybody here, but the reason why it moved from Great Resignation to Great Reshuffle is because of the slowness in the market. Now what it indicates is every stage in the industry context they are evolving. You had a great presentations in the previous sessions where even so you talked about in this evolution journey, that's what is always happening. Now when we look at it from the industry I come from, which is technology industry, one thing which has always been talked about is the evolution of skills. The skill landscape has been changing all the time. The kind of people we were hiring in the past, the kind of people we started to hire during pandemic and now, that context has changed completely. So it's not a legacy vanilla skills, but it's also about the combination of different varieties of skills which people have evolved themselves into. So that's one perspective which has been bringing the reshuffle from talent landscape perspective. Now if you look at it from a business point of view, for companies like us, which are technology companies, when we used to go to our customers in the earlier context, it was all about how many people do you need? It all started, my first company was HCL, and during that time we were ramping up big ways in terms of bringing, it was more of a body game. And how many people do you need to deliver this work for in a T&M typical time and material vendor? And from that to the current context where we have got into a business outcomes perspective, where we try to understand what the customer's problems are and what solutions can we help customer to get from us in that partnership to achieve those outcomes. So that's where business context changed. The third important thing is the environment. Now the reshuffling from an environment point of view is, again, more biased from the technology industry I come from because I throughout in my career worked in technology companies only. It is about the working model which has changed. Now, companies like us, we have not gone back to office yet. Our work from home is continuing, and our official stand to our employees, which we made clear to them last quarter, was that until 31st March 2024, you're going to be work from home. Except for senior people who are managers, middle management and above, we are saying at least come twice a month, effective June 1. Now, when you are in this kind of environment, how do you deal with your talent? The biggest thing which we experienced in last 16 to 18 months was the job change was just a laptop change. Because practically nothing was changing for them. And when you have this kind of scenario, what is the issue you have? You have the issue of stickiness. You were talking about about your dad, right? In terms of years serving the organization, there's no sense of belongingness to it. That's a reshuffle. Today, anybody who wants to relate with the organization is relating with the organization through the lens of manager, because all they interact with on day-to-day basis is manager, because there's no touch and feel with the organization. So all these aspects have evolved and changed in a big way. And actually, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about solutioning, but I'll leave it to you whenever you want me to actually talk about it.
That's something. See, I think all these things were there earlier as well, if you see them. Even Mr. Jan, Ravi, so you said that we evolve and we have to maybe master hierarchy and all, but during your address, you quoted 3 quotes which were more than 500-year old and still relevant. Still relevant. So the thing is, things are really existing. Do we think that, maybe you guys can raise your hands, that we had our work from home at least 1 or 2 days. It was not that formal before pandemic also. I had it. I had my happiest minds. I was the person who started 2 days in a week. And you can raise your hands. Did you have that? Did you have the flexibility? I did not have attendance in happiest minds for anybody. Anybody can walk in any time, can go anything when you want to complete your work. So it was there, but maybe it is a major chunk of people started expecting this and experiencing it. That's why we are maybe discussing, because our fraternity is infamous for being reactive, not proactive. So we always react, like, okay, this is coming now, let's do something. This is going to happen now. The Gen Z is coming, let's do for something for Gen Z. How are they behaving? I have not found any Gen Z who hates anything which are, any policies which have been made and they don't want to follow them. I have not seen that, honestly speaking. There might be anybody, the miscreants will be there, like I was a miscreant in my batch, and I did not follow some of the rules. So some people will always be there, just to add.
Yeah, thank you so much for a great opening remark. I don't know, we can call it all this as a wish list or not, but let's see what is the ground level reality. Yeah. How many of you working from home? How many of you want to work from home? कितने डर गए यार? Oh yeah. You know, just before 3 months, okay, I will come to the statement. Talent acquisition was in much demand than the software engineer. You know that? Before 6 months? Each talent acquisition leader used to have almost 10 operator with 50% hike. More than the software engineer demand. And when this massive layoff is happening, they are the first one to be impacted. If you are part of the talent acquisition team, you understand the reality. Today, many people don't have the job. If they have the job, they are working with the less salary than what you are getting. Yeah. Nobody raised the hand. I'm surprised. They don't want to work from home. Yeah. At the same time, our leader also is saying, okay, we want to create an ecosystem to do X, Y, Z. Look at the reality. I mean, are we connecting? Is it true or not? I mean, whenever we do something, are we prepared, for whom we are doing, what we are doing? Is it going to have an impact? Are we listening to them or not? like you said, Gaurav, okay, fine. I mean, one of the points you raise, do what you love what you do, right? And Rajiv talked about the work from home and all, but you go to some other area, some other city, it's absolutely different, right? You come from the different background, Megha, right? One of the one of the most impacted communities, the women community during the COVID. We know what has happened, right?
I have a lot of numbers on this.
Yeah, so we'll come to the question. I want you to be ready with the question. In this panel, we will talk about the two things. One is employer branding, right? And the second, how much digitalization, automation we are using. Yes, madam, I will come to you. I know you are very interested to ask the question. Just hold down. Yeah. So we'll come to that. Let's hear from them first of all. Yeah. During COVID, before COVID, after COVID, HR is the most impacted. Boss, कुछ भी होता है HR को दे दो. अभी तो HR is also started talking on ESG. I don't know how HR is connected with that. They were talking earlier about the CSR.
HR is like a business partner as well.
Yeah, in the name of business partner, you do anything and everything, and you don't get an increment actually.
I'll tell you something, Ashish, in the boardroom. So till the time we have this great resignation problem, and while our company is backed by Apex Partners, which is $65 billion portfolio size PE firm, one of the top 10 worldwide. So in the board meeting, I got a new formula learned 3 quarters back. So the board member said, from Apex side, he said, our formula is 20-20-20. And we want to measure your company performance on that formula. So first 20 is more than 20% revenue growth year on year. Second is more than 20% EBITDA. And third is less than 20% attrition. I had never heard this in any of the board meetings before that. That's a change which happened. The people agenda became so important in the boardroom because of this reshuffling which was happening, because of the skill landscape changing, because of the talent situation from a demand supply skewness perspective, that HR became, or people agenda became so important that board is actually equating this with the revenue, top line and bottom line perspective. So that's the big reshuffle which has happened actually.
Yeah, great. I mean, that's a great example. So, one way, I can put it, okay, how much time we are spending on the employer branding. That's where I will go to the, two panel member, Gaurav and Megha. Do you think employer branding is needed? Company is not worried about employer branding. The way they are doing and they're taking action, massive layoff is happening. They want to do whatever they want to do. Any decision is taken without asking anyone, the community, the society and all. Is it needed? If yes, then how it is related to the talent?
So I think very valid question on employer branding, and I think I resonate with whatever Greet also mentioned on the, how to market and brand the company and what are different techniques to follow, right? But before we go ahead and brand ourselves, I think the first thing is to look at our own product. What are we trying to brand? What are we selling? If our product is sham, I think whatever branding you do, it will not work out, right? You'll be caught off guard. So the point here, first thing is, as of course HR professionals, we all are here, and the experience which we have all seen is, getting our culture right, getting the place where everybody will love to join and thrive as well. Are you providing a career, or you're providing just a offer letter to the person to join in? Because the terminologies or the expectations of an individual joining company these days, if we're talking about Gen Z, these are all Avengers these days, okay? So they don't need the basic needs of life. They are not looking at the numbers of the offer package. They are looking at what is the value system, what is something my organization is asking me to save the world. They want to save the world, right? So connect the purpose. I think that's extremely important. That's why the employer branding has to be very smart these days. It has to be intuitive in a way to think in a different angle about the people who are passing out, as well as even the one who are millennials and Gen X as well, who are in that kind of a category who have saved enough for their lives to be, easygoing, they will love to go and open a restaurant because that's their passion, right? So now we have to think about in that angle, it's not just about hiring strategy, it's about retaining the best talent which we have, giving them the entrepreneurial opportunity within the organization itself. Because we don't want to lose the person to a different industry altogether where you can't even pull the person back, right? So that's the space you have to look out for, the smarter ways and strategies, of course. So yes, back to you.
Right. So here's again a perspective here. Let's suppose we want to order a food today on Zomato and Swiggy, and we are just in a location where we don't know about the restaurant. What do we check first? The food cuisine, and what is the next? Ratings. Right. So I tell you my experience. How many of you think that Taj Hotels are one of the best hotel chains in the world? How many of you think? One of the good ones. Their hotels will not be bad, right? We can say that. So take an example. There is a property which has a very bad rating in Taj group of hotels, and you are trying to book it. Will you be like in a dilemma? So it's about your career. Like when you are choosing like a 1 night or a 2 night stay or a food which is just like half and hour pleasure to you. So now, in my opinion, employer branding पहले भी था, अभी भी है, but it is becoming more relevant now. And this reshuffle is happening, everything is happening, that people are becoming more conscious what they want. So it is about the experience, what we are looking at, everyone. So when we are hiring, when we are doing the talent acquisition, or any kind of engagements, it's about experience, right? Your experience is an outcome of your branding. So it is nothing, it's not separated, it's not two terms or something. So branding is very, very important, Ashish, to answer that. And those organizations who are thinking that, okay, fine, branding is not important, to look at BMW today sitting here and making this good video. Do they require any branding? I don't think so. They're an established brand. आप किसी से पूछो कि आपके ड्रीम कार कौन सी खरीदना चाहते हो, 3 नाम आएंगे या 2 नाम आएंगे. BMW जरूर होगा. Good for you. Thing is, but still need a branding, that we are branding a 360-degree thing because they are talking about an experience today. So it has to be relevant. The employee branding has to be relevant with experience. And when I say relevant, are you doing just a product feature thing? When you were talking about Megha, that yes, my product is good. Are you talking about a product? Oh, I have this. So let's suppose I talk about my phone. I have this RAM, megapixel camera, this, everybody has it. What is so special about it? If I talk about sustainability, take an box. Just suppose my product is made from 80% recycled material. Take an example. So will I attract some of the people who are environment conscious people and sustainability conscious people? Yes, I will attract that talent, which is relevant to this. So relevant and the right kind of experience we are sharing with people. That can be anything. The EVP can be anything, that I give the flexibility at work from home, I give you maybe work from anywhere now, not work from home, actually we should do work from anywhere. I've seen the people posting on Instagrams and all the stuff. So my friend was talking about that Insta is becoming more relevant now. So I become really scared because if I see people having their laptop and somewhere in Himalayas, then I don't know whether I want to hire that person or not. So the thing is, it's work from anywhere, anything you want to offer, but experience and relevance.
Yeah, before you add up, I just want to give some examples because you talked about the experience. During the COVID, post-COVID, one of the good things which has happened, laptop घर पे deliver होने लगे. Right? You get the laptop even before 1 day. HR budget इतना increase हो गया है. Look at the joining kit we are giving now. There was some joining kit before 3 years. You agree? Raise your hand. And those joining kits, they are all on the LinkedIn. The kind of employer branding, we are not asking employee to do it, but they do it on their own, provided you are giving them good laptop, good XYZ, pen, pencil, diary and all. Yeah. So these are the few pointers. Then Gaurav, interview round is also being minimized. We used to have, and I'm looking, it just reminds me of one photo which is going on the internet. शादियाँ 2 राउंड में होती है, इंटरव्यू राउंड 7 राउंड में हो रहा है, right? But I think during the COVID we have seen, but it has come back to the same. I think we are doing too much of interview round. During the COVID, on-time interview round, very less. Everybody is available also. Yeah, because online you cannot say I am not available. Yeah. Okay, Rajiv, you want to add something?
Yeah, so thank you, Ashish. I actually believe that employer brand as a concept today is not relevant. What is relevant is talent brand. And talent brand is the reflection of employees about the organization in their social space, primarily. So even the example you gave, Ashish, in terms of joining Great, posting on the social media platform, is a perfect example of that. So when we talk about employer brand, we need to look at it in the two contexts. One is the avenues where our employees actually leveraging their experience, which is has the credibility of what do they experience in the organization, reflection of that in a social media platform, because most of us learn about the organization through what our people are talking about. Even if you were to look for another opportunity and you want to study and learn about that organization, if you have not done it before or you have not heard about it before, you would go to social media platform or you would talk to people who have worked with those companies. Now that's talent brand. The second thing is the differentiated employer value proposition is very important thing for the organization. So what is my employee brand promise as an organization is a reflection of our EVP message. What is that which we deliver to people? At the same time, it has to have aspirational element to it. Because if you suppose today you are X size company and you say that this is the strength we hold, because your EVP is a reflection of the strength you hold, which you are delivering, you're exhibiting those behaviors on ground, you're delivering those experiences to your people. But at the same time, your aspiration to become Y size of the organization. So what does that mean from your brand promise perspective? So how do you actually coin that together or tie that together and actually create your employee value proposition messaging and then take that narrative to build the stories, leveraging your employees around those experiences and then taking it to social media or even internal communication, external communication, whichever way. That's the real talent brand in my opinion.
Yeah, thanks, Rajiv. So let me understand from each one of you. Raise your hand. It is related to the employer branding. There are 3 things: people, process, and technology. I call it in short form PPT. Okay, so which one you think is the major pillar for an employer branding? People, raise your hand. They are not concerned with the process. Okay, now raise your hand for a process. They are not concerned with the people. And raise your hand for a technology, because that's a major thing, If you don't have that thing in the place, your branding going for a task. Okay, so I think it's a mixed response. Yeah? Raise your hand for all 3. Raise your hand for none. Okay. So Rajiv, question to you, last one, technology. How much technology is really helping to get the best talent or to set the best talent?
So in fact, it was quite interesting perspective when you said that the job board hiring is not more than 35-40%, if I remember the percentage you talked about, and more than 40% comes from social media. While I've not experienced that number from my experience perspective, still job board plays out an important role. But what really has actually changed from a technology standpoint, that the AI-enabled tools are making big difference in the way we hire people. Now, what does that mean is, traditionally, as a recruiter, Boolean search was there. But now, what AI is going to be helping you is, actually, if you have internal capability driven AI solution or you have taken a solution, what you could do is you can actually define the predictability of candidates you need. You can actually create a profiling of right set of people who come from specific demographics, companies, and from a specific industry would be still same. To figure out whether those kind of people would be more successful with the organization, those kind of people would be more enabling from a joining ratio perspective for you, and also their long-term association, and that's very complex, but that's very enabling at the same time from an AI perspective. You can also leverage AI because what happens is the big struggle I've seen in tech companies is you have a lot of database. Every recruiter, because you have a big sourcing team, sometimes recruiter maybe playing both the role of sourcer as well as recruiter, and you have various profiles. Some come from the sourcing channel for employee referral, others come from job board, third could come from your own efforts, and fourth could come from social media and so on and so forth. You have a lot of data sitting somewhere. Now what happens is sometimes you don't have a way to reach out to right profiles from your own internal database. Now that is where the technology can make big difference. Now one experiment which we did in my organization was that we said as soon as from demand generation, so building everything from SFTC to ATS and then sourcing and recruiting around that. But at the ATS stage, as soon as the hiring manager has raised the requisition, it goes to sourcing function. The first thing which the tool does is it looks at the mapping of near, so you can't have 100% map in technology skills. So we have defined certain percentages of 60% match, 80% match, for example, 90% match. And basis that the profile list will follow, irrespective where these guys are sitting inside the organization, whether they're deployed in some account or they are sitting in the corporate pool or bench as we call it. And you can actually look at whether these guys could be, or these people are good for you to repurpose them. So that's the technology leverage for you. Similarly, when you are actually going for a recruiting efforts perspective, and if you have a right tool where all the channels of sourcing are actually providing you inputs, and you have these algorithms and AI leveraging you to actually figure out these are the right people for you to actually target. That's the beauty of technology, and it's a very complex. It's not going to be happening very easily. The variables, the algorithm which go behind it, are immense and huge. One thing which we are trying to do recently, and our Chief AI Officer is helping us even leverage generative AI, ChatGPT, to actually make it more personalized conversation with the employee. So, and the case study which we actually presented, we had a sales meet last month in US, where the AI officer presented that if suppose I as an employee want to understand my leave balance, so I'm having a conversation with the system which is ChatGPT driven, and the personalized response I'm getting, which is my name, everything is how you have been this, that, etc. You have taken these many leaves recently. What are you planning to take leave, etc. It became so personal. That kind of change is going to be happening. While I'm going beyond hiring example, but that's a real shift which is happening from AI-enabled perspective. So AI has a big contribution in that.
I think he covered a lot of points, but I just want to add on here is, there is a lot done and revolutionary impact created because of technology. Because to be honest, there was a slight unconscious bias also when we were trying to hire for certain roles. A bot will not do when it comes to shortlisting of CVs, right? If you have done the job, if you have the skills, you have the technical abilities, you will get on the table, right? Your resume will land on the table, and it will not have gender biases, it will not have ethnicity biases, etc. So this is something which is a very, very strong tool to get that population in the talent market, which was not tapped yet. Right? And we are talking about 500 million women right now who are in that working population, and that is equivalent to, the complete Facebook users in India today. So that's completely an untapped market. We have to, of course, the GDP has grown in the last 23 years by 10 times, whereas our women participation in the workforce has declined by 10%. So the numbers are not matching here, so that's something which I think technology can really work for us.
So I cannot add much has been added by my fellow panelists, but one thing is there that why technology is important and why are you using it? Because we are moving from experience-based hiring to skill-based hiring. पहले क्या होता था? We used to maybe a lot of people are from talent acquisition and recruitment side. I want a person from this many years of experience with this industry who has done this kind of role in this geography. Just see that. So all those things will be there, and the technology was still helping you. Somebody was talking about evolution of recruitment from the newspaper to Naukri.com and then LinkedIn and now AI-based platforms and that social hiring as well. So and all those interviews and digital interviews, all those things. So now what the change has come is, and the technology is very, very critical because we are moving from an experience-based hiring or resume hiring to a skill-based hiring that I need a person who knows this. So today, let's suppose I need to hire a person in my HR team. I don't look at the HR VP experience or anything. I have to look whether the person has a multicultural experience or not, because the person is going to handle the APAC, the MENA, Middle East, Egypt, somebody is sitting in Pakistan, or somebody sitting in Levant, or somebody in CS countries, Russia. I need that skill, particularly. HR is fine, that is about it. So experience to skill, very important, because then you have AI platforms, other things, those will pop out everything for you that yes, this is the thing and all, you can use that. One important thing is that technology still is an enabler. It has not taken the front seat, and it should not never take a front seat, because we're dealing with human beings. It's like a doctor prescribing the diagnostic test. So do you think the person who is attempting the diagnostics on you can give you the final verdict? Or do you still show your reports to your doctor? You show your reports to a doctor, right? The pathologist, you get the reports still. Even like if it is all good and one or two here and there, they will give you the intervals, it is outside or inside. A CBC report can be read by a kid also now today, that it is perfect or not perfect. They will highlight for you that itna red blood cells zyada hai ya kam hai, thoda wo zyada hai. Lekin still you have to go to a doctor, that doctor look at it and he gives you the final prescription. So the thing is, in my opinion, yes, technology is important to answer your thing. It has to be an enabler, but enabling my hiring from experience-based to skill-based hiring, because skill-based hiring is very, very tough. It is not easy. You have to have some kind of popping up, some kind of permutation combinations which has to be made there, and the base is becoming huge now. Because my base was smaller earlier. My base was relevant to the industry, my base was relevant to my experience, but my base is not relevant to experience, my base is not relevant to geography, not to industry, it is very wide. So my person can come from, let's suppose I need a particular skill XYZ, the person can come from hotel industry, the person can come from automobile. So my base has increased too much. So when your base is huge, obviously you need some kind of technology to support it. That is smart.
So, technology has already taken one job from HR. Job description. You just type in ChatGPT, you will get each and every type of job description. This is the reality. Some of us may be ignoring all this. Yes, I still want to work on job description. No. Leadership is thinking in other way around. This is the reality. It is already taken over. Now you can't see any posting on the WhatsApp group. Oh, can somebody send me the job description of this? People are saying, go to ChatGPT. पहले Google बोलते थे, अभी ChatGPT use कर रहे हैं, right? I still want to know from the audience, how many of you having a recruitment tools? Recruitment tools, okay. So, okay, I know what is the definition of the recruitment and the tools. That's why I think. How many of you actually can tell me if first and second round is taken by the tools? Like he said AI and Gaurav is talking about the AI.
Again, it depends. So Ashish, there is a catch here. If you are doing a bulk hiring, then obviously it has taken the first and second. If you are doing a niche hiring, so take an example, for a person being hired in an R&D department of a pharmaceutical company, it won't be that much. So it is a niche hiring or a skill based. That's why I'm mentioning this. It can help you. But niche hiring and the bulk hiring will have different approach and the different sets of tools to be used.
So with what audience are, they are sharing the experience. First is they don't have tools. Yeah. Second is, first and second round is still taken care by the human being only. They are still judging, how should I evaluate the person and all. So guys, we are far behind. I think we should move now. One is, okay, adopt the technology. Ensure, first and second round should be taken care by the technology. This is already happening in a big company, MNC, startup, and like he said, the bulk hiring and all. It's happening. Okay, if you are not in those kind of company, I can't tell you to change the job. But please bring some change in the organization so that, organization can take the advantage of the technology. We'll go to the question round now. I think we might have 10-15 minutes more. Yes, so we have one person raising a hand. So please, dear friend. Okay, do we have extra mic? Yes, sir.
Thank you. So the question is open to panel, and also want to check with Rajiv on one of the points that you made about the analytics that you do with AI. Not the question directly to you, but just want to understand from different streams of recruitments, like you talked about even referral. What is the percentage that you get to see from employee referral today? And how is it different from what you were able to see before COVID? Second question to all is, there are a lot of governance coming in the space of use of AI and use of technology, if I generalize it, particularly when it comes to handling privacy. How are we looking at that? Because HR is probably the first line of interaction for an organization where a PI is captured, that is, a personal information is captured. And now there are going to be a lot of recruitments. There's already a bill in the parliament right now, which is being reviewed. When it happens, it may become the GDPR of India, the Digital Personal Data Protection Bill. So, how are you looking at these developments alongside the benefits of technology?
Personal information, I can always sue the person. But it's more awareness coming across that I can ask for it openly, that I'm aware about my rights, right? So, in the Western world, it was already there. Let's suppose we do. So BGV is a very, I think, most of the companies must be using in India. But when I go to, let's suppose, Middle East, or I go to APAC, some of the countries are like Indonesia and Vietnam, which are like not that developed. Maybe Megha can always kind of support me on that. You can't use certain things which we very commonly use in India. Because they are more aware about it, they're much more advanced than us about their rights of privacy and other things. So technology will have to adopt if they are not adopting, but I think I've seen that in the past, they have adopted very well. They will have some clauses, you always have a disclaimers there, you have to tick mark, you have to fine text will be there, you have to have a maybe 2 pages agreement before you do anything. All that will be there, and we find our ways to do that.
So if I may just take a second, half more around. These disclaimers were there earlier also, I agree. But the governance of this data collection to data processing is going through multiple churns today. The collection to localization of data, these are technical terms which will come into play, but that requires consent, that requires a consent for a particular kind of activity that you are doing, and then you as an organization are
but they were disclaimer that can we send you some brochures, can we send you some marketing material or some promotional material. They always stick it because they want to make sure that this privacy and other things are not being hacked. So it will happen with HR as well. We have to adopt. There is no choice.
I will just add on here in this space, governance piece, as Gaurav mentioned that it was always there. It's just matter of awareness coming in and also linking the ethical way of using the information, right? It's the personal information, there are certain boundaries, and if I have not self-ID myself, you cannot use my conversation left, right and center and realized it right behind my back. So that's what it's important to respect the personal information. That's where this restrictions has come in, that this data is not accessible for anybody to look at it, because there had been certain cases where it has been leaked out also, right? It has been mishandled. That's where this the barriers have come in to protect the data much more further on and to restrict the access to it so that we are respectful about somebody's personal information and not misusing it to different conversations.
And let's talk more relevant. One more example here is that we use assessment tools. A lot of people must be using it for leadership hiring or a normal hiring and other things also, that whether the person is relevant to us. We can't use it in a lot of countries. Are you aware of it? They banned it. And it is only a permission being taken. Are you okay to take this assessment? I have my right to say no or yes, but I cannot be deprived of that recruitment process if I say no to it. I can legally sue that.
And just like adding on, like we are still talking about technology here. Think about 15 years back when I was giving my interview, I was asked this question, am I married or not? Right? So that's a personal question. I mean, think about it. Do you have to have a plan to have kids and have a family? These are personal questions. It should not impact the personal expectation to fit into the job, etc. as well. Right?
And good thing, I have a global HR tool managed from Finland. We don't have personal email IDs there registered. We don't have personal PAN numbers. Aadhaar card is optional for India only. We have kept it because it's not there any ID proof or something like this. It's not necessary to keep on the HR tool. A lot of information like gender, where I want to see, and a lot of HR tools have adopted this also as well, that whether I want to disclose this or not. So a lot of information is there which we have taken it out as a global company.
So, great. Within the same organization, we still adopt local governance. So, for example, in Europe, GDPR defines what you're talking about. As an organization, we know that, we understand that the access of our European employees' data could be restricted, and there's always a consent-based process which is followed. On the contrary, if I talk about US, for example, to Megha's point, in India, we have anniversary mail goes to employees, wedding anniversary. In US, we can't send that. We can't, in US, ask employees at the candidates at the time of offer, what is your current compensation? It's banned. We can't ask them, we can't even talk about their medical illness thing to other people. Only authorized individuals should be manager and HR, but they're not supposed to talk about it. You could be sued. The price which you'll have to pay by violating any of these, either in European market or US, in these kind of things, will be significant. Now, similarly, in India, for example, if the government brings a law, then we'll have to comply with it. So companies are smart enough to adopt to the changes, and technology is leveraged for enabling that. So I don't see that to be a problem. Now going back to your original question, which was about referral thing. See, what I observed was referral became much more important in our sourcing process. And the reason was, last 18 months or so, or 2 years in total, we had big problem of dropouts in joining ratio. And what we observed was our employee referral, both in terms of joining ratio as well as post-joining dropouts, were lowest. So from that perspective, we have been putting a conscious efforts to leverage employee referral as one of the major sourcing channels, but we have not succeeded to achieve the target. But I see that some companies do it very well. They have gone to 40% of employer referral hiring as well, but it's one of the best sourcing channels in my view.
Our is 50%, actually more than 50%. Our hiring from employee referral is more than 50%. So it is quite substantial. Yeah.
So, Rajiv, this is again a question in addition to what you quoted about referrals and talent brand. You spoke about, and that's a very interesting word you brought about, talent brand rather than employer brand. Now, like Gaurav mentioned that 50% is a referral. How do you measure your talent brand through this referral activity? And does this really play? I mean, according to me, this is your biggest source of talent brand. And when you talk about it, any employee should feel privileged to refer somebody in their organization if they really love their work and if they are really engaged, I would say, and if they have somebody, of course, relevant for that position. So how do you really relate both of them? And is there any other parameter to measure your talent brand per se, which you brought about?
because this is really interesting and I would love to hear more views around it.
So, I'll actually bring the conceptual perspective to it to be able to make it simple for you. Now, if you or we pick Aeon's SAYS trace stripe model on the measure of engagement, the SAY says there are two things to it. One is your employees are vouching for you, right? And they generate more referrals for you, which means the engagement on the SAY is very high. And if your company is actually able to leverage more employee reference, that's a validation of their engagement on the SAY. Not necessarily, they may be high on stay and strike, but at least on SAY they would be high. And that will resonate with your employee reference, and that's where the real linkage you could drive or draw with respect to people are really generating more referral in the organization. Also at the same time, you need to continuously and consciously put in the conscious efforts to solicit referrals. Because if you don't do anything, sometimes people don't even pay attention to this kind of things. How do you actually measure it? You said that from a talent brand perspective. You have a your Glassdoor is one perfect example, other than your internal climate service, whichever instrument you pick, whether it's G12 or whether it's GPDW, whether it's Aeons or any other for that matter. That's your validation for internal, and the external validation is Glassdoor is the best platform for you. That's when you see that what is a reflection of your talent brand. Because talent brand is a reflection of my cognitive and emotional satisfaction in the company. That is what you end up seeing from a reflection perspective. If I'm cognitively very happy, I'll talk about that positively. If I'm emotionally happy, I'll talk about those experiences. And that is what is talent brand.
Yeah, I will just add on here, the talent brand you will see on LinkedIn, Instagram, and all those places where we want to brand ourselves. But when the person wants to join the company, they will go on Glassdoor and see what the employees are talking about behind the back, right? So it's important to have introspection as well when we do those activities, that how much do we have the content and the how much we really true to our words and to our offerings to our people. So that's extremely important.
Okay, time is up. We don't have. Already got the green signal. So thank you so much, and thanks Megha, Rajiv, and Gaurav for sharing wonderful insights and all. I think next panel is waiting for.
Thank you so much, sir, first of all, for such a great discussion. And for sure, we had lots of knowledge after this discussion. Give a huge round of applause, everyone.